Hey there, parents. Welcome back to another video here for Your Teenager is Not Crazy. Cruising along, we're in chapters 21 and 22. I personally resonated with chapter 21 talking about food and eating. Many of you know I'm tall and I like to eat, and so fueling a body this size takes lots of calories and energy, but I've learned a few things over the years that the book talks about. Chapter 21 talks a lot about, I think some important things to know as a parent is that I think what you put into your bodies is what you're going to get out of your bodies. And I know youth don't always like to eat fruits, vegetables, healthy things, but the more that you can get what I'd call substantive food in their body, I think the more healthier they're going to be, but I think even the more consistent their behavior is going to be. You know, if they're constantly, used to having a soda after school, or they're using, sugar in the morning to get going, the problem is sugar is like a short-term gain, long-term loss, because there's going to be a crash, there's going to be energy. I'd say there's been an uptick of, a big uptick of students doing Starbucks, caffeine, those types of beverages to try to give them energy when they're tired, when reality is they probably just need more sleep. Then also, I would encourage too, even simple things like, if they take a sandwich for lunch, could they have like 100% whole wheat bread instead of just regular white bread? Bleached flour, all that kind of stuff, the nutrients are taken out. And so the stuff that's going to, even like a good carb that's going to give your child energy isn't there. And so that's going to lead to them maybe feeling sluggish, not have energy, be tired. And so some things to watch, and also that they try to make as good a choices as they possibly can. And I get part of this probably takes some meal planning and some prep, and also it's hard because I think as a parent I've learned in a pinch your kid's hungry. It's after school, or it's Saturday, or they're at home, or you just got the Girl Scout cookies and you come downstairs and they've ate a whole sleeve of Girl Scout cookies. So I get to, in the middle school, high school years, you're not always there to parent, but the more you can err on the side of something that's going to give them better energy, a granola bar is going to be better than a bag of chips, stuff like that. And so those types of things, you can stick them away from soda and caffeine. Water, milk, juices can have some sugar in it and stuff, but even that's going to be better for them than those other things. And, this is a topic that we could have a nutritionist come in and kind of go on and on about. But hopefully you guys as parents can set the example of good things to eat. Quick story. I'm coaching a basketball team right now. We've had an issue where, I think an issue where kids have been going after school at the beginning of the season, like to go get McDonald's. And so they got a Powerade and a hamburger. And so between, the school and practice right afterwards, but I'm going like, gosh, I'm going to push these kids to run. Or I had a kid doing just one of these, I think it was a Fairlife. You can get it like at the gas station or probably Sam's or whatever. And it's got like 30 grams of protein. Well, the reality is a 11 and 12-year-old or 10-year-old, they don't need a 30 grams of protein drink, probably period. You can do your own internet research on that. Probably getting enough protein in their diet. But then also to drink that, have basically like a milkshake, and then have to run lines back and forth at a basketball practice, the kid almost puked. Because it's like, that's the wrong time to be having that. I guess it's one thing afterwards, but even I'm saying like all that stuff they don't necessarily need. I'd even say too, like all the Gatorades and those kind of sugary drinks, they don't necessarily need those either. Maybe when it's super hot here in the summer during in St. Louis, and if they're playing soccer outside and multiple games in a day or something, that might be warranted. But usually for the intensity that I see children exert, the water is probably just fine. But I want to transition now to chapter 22, and as you can see, I brought Naomi in here. And so chapter 22 talks about female issues, and talks about the menstrual cycle and different attitudes and different things that can happen with that ebb and flow. And I thought, what better than to bring a female in than to have me talk about it? Yes, I have two sisters. Yes, I have a wife. I'm somewhat knowledgeable on the subject, but I thought I'd have Naomi share her thoughts on the chapter. So what do you got?
Basically, the chapter is in two big parts. The first part is all about the biology, like what's going on, why is it happening, those kinds of things, which most everyone kind of knows. But the second part is also just like how to react to your teen when they're going through this. And it's very clear that you don't just diminish what they're feeling. You don't say, oh, it's not a big deal, you're just emotional, you're just crabby. Just recognizing that they're going through a very stressful time with their body, and just working through them with that and giving them the attention that they need and not just brushing it off. It also talks about like going through seasons of the month, so spring, summer, fall, and winter, and just the emotions that go through that cycle every month, and recognizing that, oh, it's probably close to a winter time. We should probably like recognize that and talk to your kid about it, and then also just treat them with respect.
Yeah, and I think that's great information, because I think the first thing you talked about is important, I think anytime. I think a lot of times teenagers just want to be heard. And you don't, as a parent, have to agree with how they feel and, say, oh, well, you're right. You don't have to do that. But I think it's helpful to say, like, show that empathy, just to say, hey, I can understand, or I could see how you could feel that way, which is maybe a little harder as a father. Mm-hmm. But then also, I was sharing with Naomi earlier as we were prepping for this video that I know of a couple families that I've met over the years that got to the point, because it was such a drastic change in the female each month, they started to mark it on their, not like on their public calendar in their house, but they just had their own little reminder set that, okay, hey, it's this week, or it's going to be about this time. And they said that was super helpful for them to know that, okay, here's like, and as they talk about kind of the seasons, that the week before it's going to have this, or the week after. Before we did the video, we were talking too about how it kind of really uplifted the father role. Did you have any comments about that in the chapter?
A lot of fathers kind of back off in this time stage of a daughter, and that's like the opposite thing of what you want to do. You definitely want to engage your daughter and still have those healthy relationships in that time and that focus.
Yeah. Some of the different books that I've read really talk about how after the age of 12, the amount of time a parent spends with their child drops significantly. And so it's something like on average, like fathers are about 9 minutes for the teenage years, and moms are about 12 minutes of one-on-one time per day. And I know very well that schedules are busy and there's a lot going on. But to try to have those moments, and that's why I think sitting down as a family to have dinner together, one helps avoiding the fast food thing that we just talked about in the previous chapter, but then also allows us that moment just to say, hey, how did today go? What are some highs from today? What's a low? What's something that surprised you today? So a lot of content here, a lot of good stuff. Obviously, we can't cover it all in an 8-minute video, but hopefully this gets some conversations going with the group, and also maybe at home with your spouse or with your child. So blessings on your week. Thank you, Naomi, for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.